G'day listeners, welcome to Barkarati, the sailing podcast. My name's Jordan Spencer and it's that time of the week where we get to talk to some really cool sailors, but of course I have to share the microphone with my two idiot mates. So let's bring them in. First off, Mr. Brett Perry.
Greetings, exalted one.
EP.
G'day everyone, how are you?
Good.
That's the way. No, riding high. What a fantastic week it was, and what a fantastic few weeks it's been of sailing.
Okay.
So looking forward to getting into this one.
Yes, this will be a good one. Let's bring in our other mate.
He had a voice that could make a wolverine purr.
Mr. Nick Bice.
Gentlemen,
It's
been a humbling week.
humbling.
Yeah, well, getting all my birthday wishes across the social medias and from some of the great Barkarati fans sent their little notes in. So it's good to know we still got mates out there after all the pandemic, and life's kind of back to normal, and still to know everyone's out there. Just keeping an eye out, keeping a listen out, as a matter of fact.
Did you have a big one? Did you lay one on?
Nah, negative. I actually had a members committee meeting at the Cruising Yacht Club doing some bloody Commodore rolls at the CYC.
Oh, I'm sure there would have been a couple had though.
No, of course not. And then went to mum and dad's and had a couple of sherbets.
Yeah, there we go.
And then we're back home and, standard routine, getting the kids to bed.
That's
awesome.
it.
Yeah.
That's it. Rock and roll.
Happy birthday. Yeah.
Oh, good on you. It looks like you two got them out nice and early. So we know your parents were close mates in the early days. So let's go home and anyway.
Where are you going with that?
Yeah.
Very similar timing for your birthdays.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. All right. Obviously, an awful lot of sailing happening at the moment, and one of the races that we've been pumping up a lot, and we're big behind, is obviously the Ocean Race. And we've had a few good conversations. We've been pretty excited watching. We gave a real good debrief last week just to talk about what was going to happen, and it pretty much all exactly happened as we expected. We are right into the Ocean Race, obviously got a long history with it, all three of us. Another person that has an extremely long history with the Ocean Race is our guest tonight. Has been involved with running teams, has done the race himself, and now is a co-owner of the race. And so we want to welcome to the show, and I'm very appreciative of your time, Mr. Johan Salen. How are you, mate?
Good morning. Yeah, great to be here. No, very, very good.
Excellent.
So, Johan, for the listeners, you're Swedish. Are you currently in Sweden?
Not only for the listeners. I am Swedish.
In the freezing cold? Or where are you right now?
Right now, I'm in the French Alps, and just back from Alicante, where we had a great event. It's been a extremely long and difficult lead up. Not difficult all the time, but quite a bit. And everything in Alicante, the start period there worked out superbly and better than we had expected. Actually, it was really cool. It felt a bit like a birth after a 4-year pregnancy.
Hats off to you, and what we saw was wonderful. Loved it. Loved what we saw.
No, it was very, very good. We were a bit lucky for sure. Shouldn't forget that. But it's also just one of those moments when everything comes together. You don't really understand why, but it just came together. Everybody super happy, sponsors, host cities, team, sailors, and the locals, politicians, everyone just having a great time and enjoying being there. So I was superb, very, very nice. Hope it continues the same way. We don't know that yet, but at least it was a good start after a long, difficult period for sure.
Did I see the on start day was the most people ever recorded at the Alicante start, or was that a bit?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. That's what they say. Wow. Yeah, it was I think 70,000-80,000 because they had a machine counting people who actually went into the race village. But then it was a lot of people who didn't go in. They were up on the walkway around the piers
on the wharf.
So it was a bit over 100,000. So it was pretty cool.
Must have been
real
a bit nerve wracking, like the not the traditional start time that's happened in years gone past, like having it literally in the middle of winter in Spain. And Alicante is not bad weather to start with, but just the bit of nervousness if it's going to work. But obviously it has worked very well.
Yeah, no, for sure. And to be honest, when we had to change the dates due to, consequences of the COVID and all that, it was the locals were not too happy about it. But in the end, for sure, the weather helped. I think it would have been great even if the weather wouldn't have been as good. But it came together. We had a sort of full 10 days. It was one day was a bit cloudy, but the rest was just not a single cloud in the sky. And then we got a bit of wind for the start. And so I think we've proven that it does work to have it in January. And also the locals, normally when it's in sort of more October, beginning of November period, there's quite a bit of tourism there. But this time of the year is virtually no tourists there. So for the hotel, it was not only the race village, the whole town just came alive. People were out all night and restaurants were full and bars and that time of the year, that's unheard of. So actually for the region and the city is probably even better compared to what the normal is.
Have you and Richard got a key to the city yet?
Yeah.
I lost mine.
It's for those who haven't.
Super happy.
Yeah, for those who haven't been to an ocean race start or leg, you can't imagine the number of people that do actually turn up. It is quite incredible. In even the classic comment I used to make all the time was we'd go to Itajaí, which is a town of 250,000 people, and 500,000 people would turn up. It's just insane how busy it gets. So it is a good thing. And one thing you mentioned, Johan, that start, particularly the Amoca start, like it was just awesome. Light winds, it could have been ugly, but the boats, you got the perfect conditions. They were just smoking across the water, and you knew everyone. And going into a massive amount of wind, you knew there was stress on. The tension was built straight away. The excitement was built from the moment the race started. It was super cool.
No, we were a bit lucky with the conditions there for sure, but I think the first leg now has proven also that the mocas actually work. They started 2 hours behind the 65s, and they had most of the bit down to Gibraltar was upwind, and they were well in front of the 65s when they got there. So yeah, I think it's proven that the boats work. They didn't break down. They performed well in all conditions, and because there is still the two worlds in sailing, right? The way we see it is in offshore sailing is that you have what happens in France and you have what happens in the rest of the world, and it's two completely different worlds. And there is quite a bit of skepticism still in the non-French offshore world for what's going on in France and IMOCAs and foiling and all that. Even with the 65 teams now, I would say that it's a transition period now, and I think it is working, but it's taking a bit of time. But it was a very important proof of the concept with IMOCAs, I think, this first leg, and that will hopefully continue to fill. And it was several of the existing IMOCA teams who are not part of the current event. They were also present in Alicante.
Yeah, we heard.
So the momentum is just sort of building now for the future, which is a very good feeling. So all what we've been working for a long time, it's sort of falling into place, which is great.
Wonderful. There's no three bigger supporters on the planet, I don't think, than us for this race, and the amount of effort that's gone into it, and obviously the COVID period, if you like, for the entire world played havoc. How did you sort of go about that? I mean, obviously that must have been a nightmare for you.
Yeah, it was super tricky. I mean, it's one of those situations where you have to make decisions under a lot of uncertainty. And I mean, we were in hindsight, I think we got it roughly right. I mean, the first decision we had to take when COVID hit, or 2-3 months after, whether we should still try to run the event. The date that was planned in late 25, and we decided pretty early that it was probably not a good idea, and then it took a bit of time to get we had to change all the contracts that we have. It's a lot of administration to actually make it happen. But that decision we took relatively early to postpone for a year, which I think was the right one. And the other decision that we had to take quite early as well was not to go to China, which was the plan. Asia is a super important market, but China, it was just too much uncertainty, and we needed to be able to prepare an event like this, the stopover in China. We needed a year to be sure, a year before, that we could actually make it happen, and there was no way that we could get any guarantees, and nobody in China, also the Chinese, they didn't know what was going to happen. So we made that decision about a year before the scheduled stopover, and I think that was the right decision as well. So I think the main ones we got pretty right, but for sure it was very difficult. And I think the consequence, the worst consequence for us, and maybe more for the teams than for us, but the teams are important. It's the same family. So was the difficulty for sponsorship, and that's always why the 65 are not doing the full lap, because it's always difficult, but it was even more difficult than what it normally is during this pandemic. And then it was some that were really close just when the war hit almost a year ago as well. So that didn't help either. So it's been a super difficult period from that point of view. I think from the event, we were a bit, we were okay, because we had our sponsors and host cities had secured before the pandemic started. So that was, we were fine, but from the teams, many teams were really struggling for sponsorship. So we've been a bit lucky in the sense that we've had the sort of the French sailing world to lean on, who have a lot in place already, right? So that has helped to make this event work for sure.
I guess we know how much work goes into behind the scenes to a team, and with the uncertainty, that just would have added so much complications just on the team side of things, and to try and commit to dates and commit to people and commit to sponsors and all that sort of stuff. There was so many variants. I
know it's one of the things that I've realized over the last few years now working with the event, that it's when you do a team, I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's a lot fewer stakeholders you have to deal with. When you're organizing an event like this, there are so many different stakeholders and wishes and lobbying and politics involved. So it's a super stimulating, very interesting balancing act, but it's quite difficult at times. Between politicians and sponsors and host city people and all the teams and their sponsors and the press, and it's very interesting, but it's hard to explain how complicated it can be sometimes.
Add the sailors in there.
Actually, what do you know all about that?
I was just going to ask, because sorry, Bossy, obviously with the change of course, because the 11th hour boat was originally designed because there was going to be a bit of upwind involved, and once the routing changed, did Charlie give you any grief? Or was that, is he just magnanimous about the whole thing?
Nah, I think from a design point of view, it affected them maybe a little bit. But on the other hand, they were never interested. They have no interest in Asia. So they were never keen to go there anyway.
Okay.
So I think they were pretty happy about it. But they had to. But I think from a boat design point of view, one of the things that have worked pretty well is that when we started with, you were involved at the time with the talks about IMOCA. Some people thought that now it's going to lead to two IMOCAs, right? One for crude sailing, one for single-handed, and one for more upwind performance, and one for more. But it's proven actually that the boats are there is still one IMOCA class, and the boats do not change. If we change the course radically, so it would be a lot more upwind, maybe it would change, but just look at what happened the last couple of days. They go really well upwind.
Yeah, well, they've definitely evolved their technique to the way they sail them. We're noticing that, that they've worked out how to sail them upwind a little bit better. the way they're trimming their boats has changed over the last few years because they're having to go upwind, so they're actually working it out now. So, that's something we've noticed in the last year, I would suggest, and I don't know, but we can see it just looking at it. The way they're setting their boat up has definitely changed, and it's giving a better upwind performance.
Absolutely, I think the foiling on particularly on monohulls is when it's the reach, it's easy. It's quite a bit quicker when they take off. They go 6, 7, 8 knots quicker than when they're not foiling. The difficulties with foiling is to make it work VMG upwind and VMG downwind. That's where the big improvement is taking place at the moment. It will still evolve quite a bit, I think, particularly VMG downwind. You can see now on the leg down from Gibraltar down to Cape Verde, they were a bit quicker than the 65s, but not all that much, because the VMG downwind there is still a lot of potential, a lot of improvements which will take place, and they are not fully there yet.
Correct. Yeah.
Must be even when this conversation first started about bringing the IMOCAs in, which obviously you can hang your hat on that one, Johan, but to see the crowds in Alicante crowding behind the IMOCAs that are there that literally look like spaceships must be pretty cool. Like, especially from where you've come from the early days with Volvo and the 60s to seeing what it's evolved into now. It's been a massive, massive jump.
Yeah. And I think with the images, what you said, what we got there the start day, and then you had to compare the 65s, which are great but more traditional racing boats, and the images from the IMOCAs. You see, this is the future.
Yeah.
It's very different, and I think there's quite a few traditionalists still there, but it's definitely the way it's going, for sure.
I have to ask from a sponsor perspective, when you look at the footage from the 65 and the 60s, in the 60s, they're all inside their little cabin, they're in the T-shirts and not much wet weather gear on. On the 65s, they're completely getting hosed. Is Helly Hansen pushed to go back to the 65 so they can sell more wet weather gear?
No, they haven't. I think it is very different for sure, but it's not easier to live on these boats than the 65. No. For sure, you get less host and you can stay a bit drier.
Cue in the Crocs. Cue in the Crocs.
Yeah, the movements, the sound and the movements. I mean, the IMOCA, particularly upwind, but even on when it's rough, you have people who've never been seasick in their lives who get badly seasick on these boats. It's pretty horrible environment, but I think the visibility of Helly Hansen will be as good, even if they are a bit easier to film them when they're more protected.
Well, I mean, Helly Hansen have been known to put out some pretty good casual gear as well. So you can imagine like Kevin doing a Snapchat to Pablo
with a nice polo on.
Fully got everything on, just getting blasted, and Kevin's sitting in the cockpit. But then you don't see the rest of it and hear the noise and how crook they're going to get on board and just lack of sleep and all those sort of elements too.
We did have a bit of a laugh last week about the interviews at Cape Verde, and would love to hear one when they first got off the boat. And I think Boris was having one. I didn't see the actual footage, but I've just got this vision of him yelling and screaming, doing the interview, trying to keep quiet, but used to yelling for the last 6 days.
Did you get a chance to go for a sail, Johan, on one of the 60s?
Yeah. I've sailed a bit. And it's a different dimension. It's when they actually start foiling, just the feeling of the boat just changes completely. First you feel the acceleration, and but the movement changes completely. It's you would think that the foils are just sliding stable in the water, but it's very quirky and itchy as soon as you're on the foil. I guess it's the speed which makes each little movement a lot more violent but it's I haven't been out in really. I've been foiling quite a bit, but not been out when it's sort of been rough and a lot of waves and upwind and stuff. So I've avoided the worst so far, but it's definitely a new dimension.
Well, so would you say you've got a big experience, and very great experience in windsurfing in the old days, and then now I know you're into the foiling side of things. Is it the same step, like on a windsurfer? You start getting up foiling and it's all goes light and everything. Is it the same on these boats? That sensation, or it's a little bit different?
Yeah, it is. It is a bit different because it's when on the boat, when you go on foil on a windsurfing board, you're on top of the surface and you don't really touch the water. These boats still touch the water, which makes a big difference. You still have you go slamming faster, and that makes the slamming worse and the movement worse. When you're foiling on a windsurfing board, it's just really smooth
and quiet.
On this, but it's different. If you have flat water, you can have the same feeling on an IMOCA. But as soon as you have waves and you get a bit of slamming, it's pretty violent.
Strap yourself in, basically.
I know there were a couple of Aussie guys that were pushing quite hard for the IMOCAs to have a foil on the rudder so they could come up fully foiling. I remember that a few years ago. So, maybe they were smart.
Yeah, I mean, it's a debate in the class at the moment whether to add that in the rule. And it's already been up for a vote about a year ago, and then it was not accepted. But some people think that it's for sure in many conditions it will be easier and smoother, but it will also mean even higher speeds, and when you do crash, it's worse. So I think it will come. And but the problem is also in ocean racing when the boats are with more speed, you need more protection, and you have also disadvantages with more speed. So it's plus and minuses. I think in the end it will come, but it's not quite there yet. It's not. I think the people who are building new boats and sailing these ones think it's complicated enough without them. But it's been tried. I don't know if you've seen that. Biro Valet put T-rudders on their IMOCA, and that looked pretty cool.
It's a pretty cool evolution, isn't it? We're going to see over the next year, especially with these boats, it's going to do a lap. It's going to be they're going to learn a lot, and that's probably the best thing. Just a quick question, Johan. When you were at Alicante, I did read that a few other teams came down, obviously with the pandemic and all that sort of stuff, and teams set up with 5 boats in this one. There must have been a bunch of people down there looking. I'd like to sort of expand on that a bit and see how many people were down there from other teams actually taking an interest, because that's good for the future of the event.
Yeah, no, that's a super important point, and it's also great to be in a position to do that, because when during the Volvo days, it was a lot of advantages for sure with Volvo, but one of the disadvantages was that you didn't know before the start of the race if there was another one, and if it was another one, when it was. But now we obviously know that there is another one coming up after this one, and when it's going to happen and all that. So this sort of long-term certainty and possibility to plan more long-term, I think it's super, super important. And now when we've sort of proven the concept with IMOCAs in the ocean race, there is, I would say from the existing, it was 3 teams in Alicante of the existing ones who are funded and who definitely confirmed that they're doing the next one. It was another 3 there who want to do the next one. They're not fully funded yet, but I think 2 or 3 of them are likely to make it. And there are some who didn't come, who was confirmed afterwards that they're definitely doing it. So I think the struggle a bit in the last couple of editions to get teams to the start line in Volvo Ocean Race and now the Ocean Race, I think that is definitely changing now. And my gut feeling at the moment is that between the teams that are currently participating and the existing fleet, we will have 8 to 10 of the top IMOCA teams taking part of the next one. plus hopefully a handful of new ones from other countries. We don't want it to turn into completely French event either, but so we need to get a proper Spanish team and Italian team and Australian team, etc. So hopefully a handful of new countries coming in. So that's looking pretty good. It's definitely going the right way, and it is the first time these more French teams actually participate in a proper international event. It's been some sort of non-French with Boris and Alex Thompson and Samantha, for example, who've been non-French who wanted to participate in what's going on in the French sailing world, offshore sailing world. But now you have French teams actually participating in a proper international event, which has sort of never happened before. And this all takes time because it's a super different way of working and thinking. And the way the teams are structured in France is that they have sort of normal employees and they have the 35-hour work week to just make it work in an event like this. No, but it's a reality. Many of them have been struggling to get people want to do it, but then they don't want to be away from home at the same time. So it's two very different philosophies and cultures who are meeting.
It's too easy in Lorient, you're saying. Too easy in Lorient.
Yeah. I mean, they live a normal family life there and normal workout. So it's so different. These teams have never been structured like that before.
So I might be completely wrong here, Johan, but initial days when this concept was put forward that the IMOCA boats were going to be taking part when the Super 60 got basically taken off the table and it got put over to the IMOCAs, and then you've got the IMOCA Owners Group Association or whatever it was called. There was, like you say, quite a bit of skepticism, but I'm guessing now, like you say, there was quite a few teams down there. They can see the value in a global expanding race, not just in the French sector.
Is that great point?
What you're also experiencing?
That's exactly what's happening. I mean, for the well-funded bigger teams, I mean, in the IMOCA class, there are a lot of small teams with local French sponsors, and they have no commercial interest, and also from our side, we have no interest for them either to participate because we don't want it to, as I said before, too French, and also it should be an event for the quality teams who activate and communicate, and that's how we build the event. So, but for the top 10 teams in the class, definitely, that's exactly what's happening.
I should explain for the listeners, you've got to imagine the ocean race in a completely different light to the Vendée, because, you know, with the Vendée, it goes all the way around the world and back to the same port. They don't stop anywhere. But with the ocean race, part of the logistics is how you're going to put all those boats in, so that the actual number of boats that you want in the ocean race is you're never going to get 30 odd boats. I hope I'm not speaking out of tune here, Johan, but you know, so when you're focusing in on that, you know, they 10, 12 really shit hot boats is your perfect scenario, you know, and if I was the owner of the race right now, I'd be pretty happy.
Yeah, no, I agree. The number of boats, the important thing is to have quality rather than quantity. And as you say, logistically, I don't know what the exact number is, but I think it would be very difficult for us to handle more than 15 boats. And it's also feedback that we are getting from the sponsors. I was at the start of the Route du Rhum back in early November, and there we had 120 boats, and the sponsors are starting to realize that they disappear.
Yeah, going to say they get lost.
Teams, they get lost. Yep. Both
more value and more value in this.
From a media value point of view. So the teams who invest in a lot in their teams and have a high ambition level, they are sort of more and more reluctant to participate in these events where you have several classes and more than 100 boats, because they disappear. They don't get the value for money from those events any longer.
Do you think? I mean, we're on the IMOCA side here, pretty hard here, but guys like Kevin who have competed in the race before, and done very well, like is he I'm guessing he's one of the biggest advocates to do this race. He's sold it to the sponsor well. He's great in front of the sponsors. He's doing a great job out there on the water. And hopefully after this race, that expands and expands.
I think so. They came in pretty late, but the sponsor is super enthusiastic. And with some of the sponsors, if you look at Biotherm, for example, they came. It's also a pretty late project, and the original plan from Biotherm was to do the French events, and now Paul, the skipper, he has been pushing to do the ocean race because it's really something he's been wanting to do for many years. And now they've been in Alicante, and now they sort of completely switched. Now the ocean race is the most important event for them, and it wasn't even in the plan when they sold the team. So all that is changing now, which was the plan from. It's taken a bit longer than we would have hoped, but it is coming now. So that's the key thing.
It's unreal. Boys, do you mind if I sort of sidetrack a little bit here? Because I feel like it's really important that we understand a bit more about this man that we're talking to rather than just the ocean race. I think,
Yeah.
I was waiting for it.
Yeah. So, Johan, I'm really interested in your pathway, mate. This is a conversation we have a lot. You've gone from being, you're Sweden's #1 windsurfer for a while there, pro windsurfer. And then you did the first ocean race in 89, 90, I think, on the card, from memory. How did you get into
from
sailing?
memory?
Yeah, I love it.
just off the top of my head.
Off the top of his head.
You remember more than I do.
Yeah. No, that's how he rolls.
So how did sailing come about for you, mate? Because I know your family has an amazing history in sailing, so I just want people to understand.
We need to talk about that one as well. Yeah.
The old Genoa. No,
that's one of our favourite stories.
I'm from a sailing family, but what happened was that apart from being on sort of boats with my family since I was very small, I lived in the Canaries when I was a teenager. And I was the locals there are spoiled by the climate and the tourism and are not super active. And I really wanted to find some hobby, which I love. So I started with windsurfing when I lived in the Canaries. And then I started to compete, and so I did it professionally for a number of years, and I won a couple of world championships. But then I realized that I cannot keep, or I don't want to keep windsurfing the rest of my life, and I need another more serious part of my life. So I stopped. I wasn't active that long, 6-7 years. I did a World Cup for the last couple of years, and then I stopped completely and started to study and finished myself. But then I said, I don't want to stop sailing completely before I properly tried to sail in a team as well, because you're pretty lonely on that board, right? So I contacted, and I read it was a potential team for the next Whitbread, which I had sort of seen and been very attracted to. And I contacted the guy who was putting that together, and also the skipper of the boat, and for some strange reason managed to sort of qualify on the crew, and ended up sailing on the court around the world in 89, 90, as you said.
Skipper being Magnus Olsen, correct?
Roger Nilsson.
Roger Nilsson. Sorry.
None other than Roger.
Roger that. So
Roger that.
And then afterwards, I had the sort of choice. I really liked it, and then I was tempting to become a sort of offshore navigator, or finishing my studies, which I've started. Then I did finish my studies, MBA, finance, economics, blah blah blah. And then when I was sort of starting to look for normal jobs, I kept good contact with Roger, and he was in the process of starting a new campaign for the next one. So he said, why don't you help me for a couple of months, and we try to get it going, and then you can do whatever you want after that. So that led to so I said, I agreed. Let's do that for a while. It could be an interesting experience, and there's no rush to get a normal job. So we worked together for was 8-9 months, and we got a sponsor in Interim Justitia at the time. So that sort of led to a new campaign, and then I said, well, sponsor, we've done it, we put the campaign together. It was a great experience, and now I leave you to it. But then Interim, the company, offered me to run the campaign for them. And then I said, oh, that could be an interesting experience, because it's a very different part of what the sailing side of things. So then I was in Sweden at the time, moved down to Amsterdam where the head office was, and then I sort of project managed that campaign. And then after that campaign, which worked pretty well, I worked a bit for the company, but realized that was quite boring. And then I got contacted by EF at the time, who were the sponsor actually themselves. EF, the company, was privately owned. They had decided to do a 2-boat campaign, and also I was interested to help them to run that. So and yeah, the rest is history, as to say. And I was back in the managing and running campaigns, and then it's been the main thing I've been doing for the last 30 years. I've had some other spells with some startups in Sweden I've been involved in, but it's always been a bit on the side and not something that I've been able to control my engagement in. Nothing to do with sailing, completely different stuff. But a bit of a leftover from my studies in finance.
So you always come back to sailing, but I'm sure that the degrees come into play.
Mate,
I mean, you must. Yeah.
There was no time to not come back to sailing. So it's gone EF from memory, Assa Abloy, Ericsson.
Yeah.
Ericsson 3 and 4. SCA. SCA after that.
There you go. Yeah.
And then running the race.
1 year off, and then you just then you own the race. It's a perfect.
I mean, after SCA, there was no plan actually to be involved in another one. But then, as you know, it was a bit turbulent. You were there more than I was at the time. It was a bit turbulent before the start of the last edition. That's in 2017, and then we were contacted by Volvo people there, because it was partly the same people, management in Volvo as with Ericsson, so we know them pretty well, and they asked whether we could help out. And then so we did that, Rich and myself, and then but at the time we didn't know, when we were engaged, or just around the start period in the last one, we didn't know that they were actually looking at sort of changing the structure or selling or the ownership of the event. So we learned that a couple of weeks after, and then there was lots of sort of ups and downs during the last. I mean, we were part of running the last edition there, 17-18, but at the same time there was a process running in parallel for the future sort of structure and ownership of the event. So we ended up, but it was all just. It was nothing of this was planned. It just happened.
So if you look at the natural progression, though, my friend, you start as a windsurfer, you become a pro, then you do the ocean race, then you start running a team, then you start running bigger teams, then you start CEO of the ocean race. Now you own the ocean race. Are you taking over World Sailing next? Is that what's going on?
World Sailing, I don't know if anyone wants to take that over.
Moving the head office to Lanzarote.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an amazing.
I don't know. I mean, there is still, even if this event now has started very well, it's still a lot of work to get this event properly sort of structured and sustainable for the long term. So that's still a few years of work.
Yeah. There's no doubt there's a long way to go. But one of the things that was probably from a spectator point of view, which was always going to be a question, was the finishes, and because there was nothing more spectacular than obviously the 65s with those finishes. But this first leg, I got to say, I was glued. And the finish was just as spectacular. I mean, there was chances for 11th hour. Malizia gave 11th hour a good testing, and they weren't far behind each other at all, and even the 65s. But I was glued to the tracker.
No, I think that will work. I think the for sure it will be a bit weaker for those legs where there are only the Moccas, but I think for the thinking a bit long term for the next editions, that will, if you have sort of 10, 12 boats, whatever, I think that's going to be the key thing, right? Then it works, even if it's you have some who have technical problems and all. So it is a bit fragile still, the 5 for sure. But hopefully they will not have too many serious breakdowns. A little bit, it's part of the game. Too much can be bad. But I think for the future that will be fine. But we have a few legs we still need to survive in this one to make it good.
Well, just that little rig around the bottom.
Yeah, just that little one.
You know what I reckon is going to happen? This is the threat. Sorry to talk over your boss, but you know, you've got that fleet going under Australia. You've got Mr. Nick Bice living at the bottom of Australia there, who's one of the world's most sociable blokes, and everyone loves.
Who does have a 23-foot Bertram?
There's a fair chance that he'll just put an invitation out at Cape Town and tell all the boats to stop in for a barbecue. You've got a risk there. You've got to understand that, mate.
I've got the Komodo Joe fired up. Come in, lads. Lads and ladies.
I was at his house the other day, and there's plenty of room.
So it actually worked, because the skippers of the Mocket teams now, it's sort of a bit of a generation shift with some younger guys, but they're really great guys. Very social, very professional, very nice guys. You know, so they may stop by.
Yeah, you never know. I'll put the word out. I might head to Cape Town, flog a couple of awnings in Cape Town, and get the boys to stop in. But
plenty of sun down there. You'll be right.
Johan, I mentioned it last, bit of a master stroke with the 65 Sprint Series, which basically put 5 of the boats on the start line. Was that just 6? Was that just a something that came to you? Someone came up with this, or it was a bit of a collaboration between all the team owners or team sponsors? I mean something obviously had to be done.
Yeah, it was one of these other things that were very tricky, but I think the outcome was pretty good under the circumstance. I think it was mainly two things that drove it. First, there is these teams who are now the 65 teams who have been racing at Cape Verde. In maybe except for Mirpuri, the other ones have been working now for 3-4 years to get a team on the start line. But in this difficult environment, haven't quite succeeded to get the full funding. But they are all very, very keen groups to continue to work on getting campaigns together for the future. But if the result of their sort of investing 4 years of their life to get a campaign going, if the result would have been nothing, I think some of them would probably have given up and been quite demotivated. But I think doing this will keep most of them going for the future, which is key for us. And the other thing is also it makes the the event much better in the host cities where you have these additional boats. That's a proof in Alicante. So that was another part of the story. But it was for sure also a bit tricky, because 1-2 of the teams were ready and had the funding to go around the world, but the fleet was obviously not strong enough to make that very, very attractive. So I think this is the best possible compromise under the circumstances. For sure, we would have liked all 6 of them to go around the world, but under the circumstances, I think the outcome will be pretty good, and most of them will keep fighting to get good campaigns to the start line for the next one.
So what's obviously they join then the back end of the race. What are they all planning to go to the Caribbean or something like that, or some might go just back to Europe?
Yeah, they're all planning to go to. We're doing a start for them from Cape Verde, so they will leave together. It will not be an official race, but more like a rally to the Caribbean, except Mirpuri. I think they're going back to Portugal because they don't normally do the Caribbean season. So they're going to the Caribbean. Some may show up in Newport, and then the racing will start again from Århus.
Yeah, cool.
I'm interested, mate. One of the things you mentioned in the little biography we did on you was the interest in maybe becoming a navigator. Like that was one of the thought processes you had. The race starts again on Wednesday. It's a real short stop in the Cape Verdes. Have you been looking at the weather models just yourself out of interest? Because I have, and it's going to be a nightmare for the navigators.
Yeah. No, I haven't looked at it in a lot of detail, but it looks tricky, particularly for the first few days, but extremely light, which is unusual because the trade winds in the northern hemisphere winter in Cape Verde are normally very good. We have the source high who move a bit further south and give very stable trade winds. So it's a very particular situation, but it looks definitely super tricky for the first 2-3 days.
And whether that high even forms up off Africa there, like it's just the whole race. I mean, it's too far out to trust the models, but yeah, it looks like a navigator's race. So we saw this amazing race in the first leg where there was tension because of the weather and the conditions. Now we're going to get this we're really going to live it with the navigators, and obviously with the way the boats are set up, where you don't normally have the floating skipper and navigator like you do on the more crude boats. They're trying to get their sleep. So it'll be really, really interesting. It's a whole new dynamic for leg 2. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, very exceptional conditions for sure. But I think it will be better once they get a bit further south, and particularly when they are across the doldrums. But until between Cape Verde and the doldrums, it looks like anything can happen. It's like a bubble at the moment, right? Which is very, very unusual.
I reckon a few 65, the 60s will be getting some air conditioning installed in Cape Verde at the moment because you're going to be hot down below.
The hot box.
I hope they do. They're going to need it.
Who do you reckon's going to win? Now, I know you can't answer that, but I still can ask it.
I mean, it's really, really tricky. When people asked me on the dock in Alicante, what I thought, I sort of said that my 2 favorites. I normally I shouldn't have any favorites, but that's sort of looking at it from a sailor's point of view was 11th Hour and Holcim, and so that on the first leg I've been pretty right. But what happens in the future is really hard to tell, because I think the Biotherm and Guyot will
get better,
will catch up more and more and become closer. And I think also Malicia was super interesting. It was quite uncertain, their performance since they got new foils very late in the game.
Yeah.
But they seem to be going really, really, really well at times. I think that could be a surprise factor as well. So
as I said, they came in at the end.
Yeah. In some angles and conditions, they were going really, really well. And then obviously, I think that there will be some breakdowns at some points, and that could definitely be a deciding factor as well. But so it's very open, but that's the way it should be. The Holcim boat was originally built for the ocean race as well, actually. So that's. I don't think it changes anything now, because if you look at the boats that have that in mind, 11th Hour and Holcim from the beginning, and the other new boats, it's nothing particular which is different for the ocean race, actually. Maybe they had another beanbag or two, but that's about it.
The whole, I mean, there's a bit of speculation about the rigs and all that sort of thing. And because of one, was it the Brute de Rum? There was one that went down. We know 11th Hour has a second rig. Is there a bit of a plan in place there, or did you manage to snaffle a couple of rigs up from Lorimar prior to the race starting? Just to look after the teams?
11th Hour has a spare rig. There is a spare rig also in the class.
Oh, so they've still got that one? Yep.
Yeah, they still have that one. But I think the rig that came down in Route de Rome, because you probably know that they have limited the size of the foils going forward.
Yeah.
And the rig that came down was the same boat in the Jacques Vabre in 21 and now in the Route de Rome in 22. Is the old Occitan, which have huge foils which are not allowed from this year.
Yeah.
And obviously the righting moment on that boat is very big. So they have to be super careful, and maybe haven't been careful enough. So hopefully that foil limitation will help a bit, but for sure their boats, the modern IMOCAs with foil, they still need to be careful at times and watch the loads and slow down at some point in time for sure. But it's been pretty clear. I mean, it's one boat that collided with a fishing boat and rig came down. So that's pretty easy to explain. And the other one was old foils with huge righting moment.
I think we kind of came to the conclusion only a couple of weeks ago that you kind of need a bit of a weak link in the chain, because the next thing is actually the people on board.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of like ropes don't break anymore. Like that foils unlikely will break under normal sailing load as well. Just with all the technology and even the rigs for that matter. Yes, they're restricted to a riding moment and a few things like that. But, it's now the people, because the boats are just super quick. We're pretty keen to see when these boats really launch.
Yeah, and in some conditions today, they try not to stand up. They are on their knees or sitting down because they are afraid of with this the movements that they damage the knees or the ankles, and so they don't want to stand up. So it's that just I think that says a lot.
That adds a whole new perspective to the interview after the end of the race.
Well,
yeah, absolutely.
Yelling and screaming and crawling around.
Want to sit down?
Sounds like
sometimes it's good to be too old for these things.
Yeah. And being a Land Rover owner, I will never suffer from whiplash. So
it sounds like
whereas on a boat now, oh mate, she's all on.
It does sound like that we're talking about babies, doesn't it? Yelling and screaming and crawling around on their knees, like it is quite funny. Is there any of the boats that if we forced you to go on a boat, it's a completely different question to the last one. Which one would you prefer to be going around on? Was it a comfort perspective or a speed perspective?
Oh, what are we talking going back from the card all the way through?
Okay, no, I was just thinking for the IMOCA, but that's a great question. Yeah, you got any favourite boats? Is kind of what that expands to.
Yeah.
You mean
Ultramar catamaran?
Yeah, exactly. We got the new one actually now. No, it's not an Ultramar, but we bought a cruising cat last year.
Oh,
that's a big part.
I thought you were going to say the Tiger 260 slalom. 6.2 Gastra.
No, that's no, but on the current, I don't know. It's I think the one which is actually a bit more space and comfort and probably a bit more solidly built than the other ones, but I would say would be a Malizia.
Yeah.
Because
Rosalind did say that. Rosalind did say that. She said that there was a bit more of a ergonomic aspect. Depends on what the level of ergonomics is there.
And they can actually stand up inside, which the others can't. So I think that from a comfort point of view, that would probably be the one to choose. But otherwise, you just want to be on the boat that wins, right? So we'll see.
The other thing there is, of course, Boris is an old 505 sailor, so he'd be the most fun to hang out with.
Jesus. Here we go. Here we go. Never ends, does it?
One topic we haven't even broached yet is obviously using the race to tell a big story about the sustainability side of things, which I know is very important to both yourself and Richard. That's obviously a big part of this race for you guys.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the Volvo race at the time, it was a big theme there as well. I think the difference from what we've been working on the last few years is to not sort of have a separate sustainability team in the organization, just work with that, but to integrate it in everything we do. And so that's one area, and also now to raise it to a bigger level with what we are working on with the Universal Declaration of Ocean Rights, which is a pretty ambitious program. And I think a good proof of that is working is the Ocean Summit now coming up tomorrow, actually, in Cape Verde, where we have the General Secretary of the United Nations who will participate, the Prime Minister of Portugal, and obviously Cape Verde, and really high levels. So it is going forward. I would say the sportive platform is still the most important, because if there is not a strong sportive platform and interest in the race from a sort of racing and human point of view, I don't think there is a megaphone for the sustainability side of things. So it's all building on having a very strong sportive platform going forward. But to use that to try to do whatever we can contribute with to improve the health of the oceans, that's definitely very close to our hearts. And I would say to everyone who is working in the organization now.
Yeah. Well, we get it. You know, it was ahead of the curve. Maybe I was wrong in that you were trying to take over world sailing. You'll be in charge of the United Nations soon. Maybe that was the pathway. Mate,
I think that's an easier job than world sailing, actually.
We're near the end of our time, but there is one thing that we're hanging on to here, and there's a lot of history that we really. You've got an amazing history, but it goes further than that. And for the listeners, one of our favourite stories, I think Bicey and I were having a beer with you somewhere, and you told us, and you know where I'm going. We're having a beer with you in Genoa. I think was the scenario, or caught up somewhere. Can we talk about that? Was it your great uncle or your grandfather or something? What was the story?
No, I mean first we are a sailing family in general, but my grandfather's brother was a very keen sailor and also very successful racer internationally, and he won several. I mean, was ocean racing, because they did a couple of transatlantics, but also in 6 meters and gold cups and stuff like that. I mean, we're talking about close to 100 years ago, right? So. But the Genoa thing is quite funny, because he was very creative generally, and he built also a big and successful business at time. And when he was in Genoa, I don't remember the year. I think it was maybe 1926. He was the first one. I think it was a Gold Cup, which was virtually the World Championships in. Keelboat racing at the time, and he was the first time ever to use an overlapping head sail. And this overlapping head sail obviously had a future. He won the event, and that's why Genoa is called Genoa, because that's where he first used this overlapping head sail.
Yes, amazing.
So that's a pretty funny
amazing story. Super cool. I'd love to have that in the family.
It's actually like on the family tree. People have like an actual tree. It's actually a Genoa.
And now we're back to Genoa for the grand finale, as we call it, end of June this year.
Yes, the tie-in. I love it.
Oh, awesome!
You know what? That story's always made me think of, Johan. When I'm sitting on a plane or something like that, and I think of that story, I think, imagine if that Gold Cup was held in this country or this town instead of Genoa,
in Woolloomooloo.
Cool. Fucking big jib. The Woolloomooloo.
The Woolloomooloo.
Mate, it's an interesting event. Like we knew with the ocean race, we knew it was going to be tough. We didn't realise how tough it was going to be. The fact that the numbers are so big and the racing's so interesting, if I was in your shoes, I'd be just relieved, and ecstatic. And I know you've copped it from all sides, of people wanting this and wanting that. So you're a far better man than I could ever be to manage your life. So congratulations. Like I think BP said it before, we're massively behind your event. And we just hope it is a super success.
That's great to hear. And it's in human nature, I guess. I mean, I guess we should be more relieved than we are and enjoy the moment more than we do. But now it's just sort of full on. I mean, first we have a big part of this edition left, right? But we're also full on working on what is going to happen afterwards. So, but I think that's very human, right? You don't enjoy things enough generally.
Hopefully this chat has sort of made you think, well, just live in the now for an hour and have a think about it, because goddamn, it's super successful. We were stoked. I'm sure the entire world was stoked, and we can't wait to see the rest of it.
No, I think I'll go up in the mountains and practice on my telemark skiing. That's how I will enjoy the moment today.
Yeah, perfect.
Such a Swedish statement, isn't
it? Sorry for three idiots to bother you.
All three of us would go. We'll go up into the Swedish mountain or the French Alps, and we'll get in a hot tub with some drinks. Is what we would have said. I don't think we'd even know we don't know what telemarking is, mate. We have no clue.
Yeah, no.
You should look it up. It's great.
I do. It's all right. I'm with you, mate. I love a good telemark.
Hey, Johan.
It's the best way to stay in shape when you grow a bit older.
Okay.
Yeah, good for the calves.
Super cool to speak to you again. And I must admit, fellas, I'm a little bit envious of
I bet
being
you
part
are.
of this race in one form or another.
I bet both of you are.
You should come and enjoy it with us, that beer in Genoa or whatever.
Well, that will be happening. They need some folding arm mornings over there.
And maybe it's a bar karate. Maybe it's a bar karate visit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, perfect. It's going to be good, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, send our best to the rest of the team, Johan. We are watching ever so closely and wish it all of the successes that it deserves. So thanks for joining.
Fingers crossed, thanks a lot.
Yeah. Good on you, mate. Well done.
As mentioned, men, I'm a little bit broken.
I bet you. You said you're
haven't done 6 editions.
Yeah.
And not part of this one, but the race isn't over yet. Let's see. Let's see. You all know I like a little side hustle. So you never know.
I just reckon you should get onto that little mid Southern Ocean break. Just put it out to them. So I've got I'll put a barbie on.
Maybe I should put a barge out. Like, it's a big call to come into Adelaide, right?
Right.
Maybe we'll put a barge out.
Yeah.
Like,
you'd float, you reckon?
400 miles south of the Great Australian Bight.
Right.
Got a barbie going on.
Bit like a triathlete as they go past. They're going to put their hand out and grab a water bottle. Here's a sanger and a bit of bread.
Set up a bunning snag. The onions will be on the bottom.
We'll get Bunnings to sponsor it.
Don't worry, because they're crawling around anyway. They're not standing up on board.
It's even funnier. I got onions on my knees.
Oh yeah, shit, lost it. I'm going to stop there because I could keep going.
Yeah, look,
how big's the barge going to be?
Oh, at least 12 foot.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to pinpoint. Leave it to starboard or port.
Won't matter.
Let's
because it's so narrow. I can hold one out either side.
Let's just say,
boom.
It is good to see the race going. Like we're just so worried for a while, and sure, fear of missing out, but at least there's racing going on.
It's fantastic.
Race starts again on Wednesday.
I still love
Wednesday Arvo from Cabo Verde.
Yep.
And it will be a challenging leg. Definitely challenging, particularly for those youngsters who haven't gone over the equator yet and are about to lose their hair.
Yes, or eat a sunfish.
And can't even wash it off on Imoca. Stuck downstairs.
All right, shall we move on?
We shall.
Okay. Other news, club events, boys. Have I ever mentioned
what's not going on?
Have I ever mentioned the 505 class?
Oh, the second best off the beach class.
Okay.
Are they a boat?
Yeah. Anyway, their nationals start tomorrow, and being a sociable sort of bloke, I wandered down about an hour away from where I am. I did a yacht race that finished right near him, so I slept in my car overnight and then wandered in and had a chat.
In In the Mazda.
In the Mazda, yeah, that's it. Had a chat, and you know what broke out? You know what broke out while we're there?
The doors.
I was, every Aussie, we've got a kind of hat, like a bushman's hat that we all have, and it's
the Cobra.
Yeah, it's all fitted to size, like you got to order your size specifically. I'll wander in.
How do you go with that?
Oh, this is good.
There was a big head competition broke out.
Spencer's here.
Say again.
There was a big head. Who's got the biggest head? Everyone starts I got to try your hat on, Jay. Let's see what's going on. And it was great.
Just because you have got there.
Yeah. And so
mate.
Karate rocks.
There's some competition, boys.
There's a bit of cult going on.
Did anyone
based
win?
off this, just the complete piss taking we take out of you of your head size.
That's it. Yeah. Well,
and the complete piss taking you're taking out of me on the Land Rovers because hence Anonymous sent in this week quite a bit of a spiel about the Land Rover,
right?
Of which you sent to me and gone that email saying, "Oh, this is a bit weird." I got it 100%. He doesn't want to go in for listener of the week or anything like that.
No.
But it was a significant email, and I'm reading it, laughing my head off. And actually, maybe you should do that just to get rid of a bit of head. But but no, we're creating a bit of a theme here.
Well, I've got to say, I was sitting down in Adelaide, sitting there with Snowdy, and I looked at his nut and I went, "Geez, God, mate, you've got a big head. How do you go against Jay?" Snowdy's got quite a broad nut.
Well, there's a challenge, but all I'm saying is that
how'd you go? Did you win?
No, I didn't.
Did someone beat you?
There's some challenge.
Yep. I want to meet him.
505 class, mate. It's where it's produced.
Have you got a name?
I'm thinking, this is what I'm hypothesizing. Our banter, and I discussed the fact that a big head is an advantage on trapeze, has led to natural selection where the big heads are going onto trapeze. So people are hunting around for blokes with big heads.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. That's what they're doing.
Oh, shit. This is just giving me like 6 months worth of material.
Oh, dear. All right.
I've just
anyway,
got a cartoon character of Mr. Men.
We should move on. So one of the events, this is just a blatant plug that we received from a promoter, but there is going to be a super yacht festival in March in 23 in Sydney, including a super yacht rally. So I thought some of the punters would actually find that interesting and may even be able to flog some of their stock off to super yacht owners. But yeah, the Sydney Super Yacht Festival, 17 and 19 March. I just thought I'd give you a heads up. Marine themed extravaganza set on Sydney Harbour. Both land-based and water-based activities, including a gala boat parade. That would be interesting, except we'll all probably be over in Christchurch for the Sail GP at that stage. But they should have timed it around February, if I'm giving them a few tips. But there is tickets available.
To actually load it in at the same, well, not the same time, but lead into the Sail GP or lead out for that matter.
Yeah. There's a lot of, there's all sorts of stuff. But anyway, give it a Google. They haven't paid us. We thought, we'll give it a plug. It's an interesting thing. I know a lot of sailors make their money off the super yacht crew, so so all good. The other one I wanted to mention, we've got a couple of events coming up. One that starts up my way on Australia Day, lads, and this will lead into a further conversation a little bit later on. The Windsurfer Wally Nationals start on Lake Catharaba up here just above Noosa on the Sunshine Coast for Australia. Good luck.
Guess we interview someone who wants to win.
Well, we did. Sarah Kenny.
Oh, Sarah. Okay.
Yeah, so Sarah, you're talking about the reverse curse.
Correct.
Sarah Kenny. Put your money on Sarah.
Got your money. Sports bet.
Are you going to go up there and just do a bit of spying for our nationals worlds down in Perth the year after?
If I get a chance,
a few photos, a few techniques.
The bride will tell me where I'm supposed to be, but I want to try and give some coverage to the 5-0s as well. But if I can get there, and then I think the other event But Catharabo is a great place to hang out. Not much going on. So if you haven't got it's locked. They've closed off entries a while ago because there's not enough accommodation up there. There's not much up there. Like if you're looking for a supermarket, you probably got to drive 30K.
So just to give us in perspective here, how many boards are going to be competing or competitors?
I don't know,
rather?
they didn't tell me.
Couple hundred.
I don't know.
So I
don't think they could handle that many people.
But it's not like there's 100 boats which have 5 or 6 crew each, right? So
there's a pretty cool camping ground there.
Campground's going to be full.
Chocker, and it's a really cool camping ground with its own microbrewery in it.
Geez, now you.
Right, I'm definitely going.
But no supermarket.
No supermarket.
You can't buy the hops.
But no, you can because kangaroos go straight through the middle of it.
Oh yeah, good one, Dad. Yeah. You're not qualified to tell those jokes.
Yeah, I was going to say, leave that devicey, would you?
It is warm up here too. So, and we're going. Warm. We've had a really strong southeast gradient up here. So both for the 50s and the Wallies, that gradient looked like it's about to break down and might be reasonably light for the next few days. It may even swing back to a bit of northerly action. So it could be light. We haven't had much light wind for a while.
As it was in Sydney today, absolute glass out. 18's cancelled.
Is that right?
Oh, really?
Yep.
Right.
No wind at all. So also first day of the Moths, I believe, the Nationals are here.
Yep,
Moth Nationals.
Got cancelled,
correct.
So they're here. We'll keep a coverage of those guys and girls. But no wind.
Guys, do you know what the other event is that started?
Well, it's a bit cold, isn't it?
The World DN Ice Sailing World Championships.
Our mates. I want to go do this. I so want to go do it.
Well, I've got
I
a
want
problem.
one of those bendy rigs, man.
Did you see that photo the other day? I don't know if you saw that photo. That one, that mast was just insane. I just loved it. Yeah.
I want to point out another issue with this class, just so you know, if in case you both want to do it, because let's face it, all three of us want to do it. It's 100% agreement. I reckon of all the regattas we crap on that we're going to go and do. And we're going to race each other. It's going to be this.
23% chance we're going to do it.
This is the one. Yeah. This is the one we'll all go.
No, we 100% talk about
it. Yeah. Have you seen the location of where the DN Worlds are?
No.
Right? Now this is interesting.
Caribbean.
I hope it's not the Sahara.
Now, okay, you're packing your boat. You're ready to go. You have to turn up. Are you ready? You have to turn up. The location of the regatta is listed as North America.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Oh, yeah. No, that's what they do. Remember?
Yeah, because they find the best spot.
Bill, and they just say, okay, you need to be in such and such a place at a certain time, right? For the best conditions.
Yeah.
Well, Goggins, our mate Bill Goggins, who runs Harkin. G'day, Bill. Massive listener, we know. He said it's happening around him. So they're in Pewaukee.
Of course it is.
Yeah, it's all based on Bill.
It's all happening around Goggins.
They built the Harkin Lake.
Test Lake.
Anyway.
In Milwaukee.
Now, we're moving into the Harkin Test Lake.
There's no ice up in the north. We're in Milwaukee, boys.
Now, you got to be in North America, and it's sponsored by Harkin. Take a guess where it's going to be.
Actually, and whilst we're plugging Harkin, I should point out the 50s are sponsored by Ronston, so we'll just balance off there. And I don't know what Allen Brothers are sponsoring, so I'll just while we're plugging everybody.
And the Frederick's son?
Frederickson.
Who's he sponsoring?
Frederick's son.
Anyway, to all the competitors,
the
competitors in the DNs, you keep us in the loop. Like we're so into your thing, whatever the crap it is. Like we don't know what telemarketing skiing. We have no clue what telemarketing turns are. BP does, but we have no clue what dressing up in lycra and then pushing a little wooden plank out on the snow on the ice could be like. But more power to you, leading the way with your testicles forward. When you have a crash with another boat with 3 razor sharp things on it, it's you guys are hardcore. It's all I'll say.
Or when you drop into a big pool of water, with no ice left, sudden stop.
At least you're in your coffin, ready to go.
Yeah, that's right.
Why is your DN shaped like that? You never know. Might
Planning.
drop through the ice zone.
Just planning.
Just for planning, succession plan.
Shall we move on?
Yeah.
We
always.
shall.
Okay, so Jack Lloyd, listener of the week. Obviously, Jack Lloyd.
Been busy on the socials.
Oh,
It's been great.
This week.
It's been awesome.
So great. I mean, it's not as though I've turned the notifications off, but it's just, but the phone's dinging all the time.
You will laugh
It's
with
going
one of
ballistic.
these. I'm going to give you a funny one. But first off, one of the nominees is Tim Beaver.
Yes.
What a great name for one.
Beef dog. Yeah.
Beef Dog. On their gram, I don't know if BP, you look on their Instagram. I think Bicey sort of jumps on their
Yeah, I've
website.
seen it.
I should. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
So,
I've been there. I delete most of the shit
Timmy
because I don't
Beaver,
know what I'm doing.
No, I don't know how to use it either. It's got me
he
bugging.
sent a photo through from Lad Bible, which I think is one of Bicey's favourite publications.
Yeah, very funny.
Yep.
A bloke bought 200 Land Rover Defenders in 2015 and could make millions reselling them. Yeah. I think it's just the millions of dollars of oil that's on the ground.
You reckon like Jed Clampett's out there and he's like, we've struck all, guys.
The hillbillies.
You know,
We had to buy 200. We had to buy 200 Land Rovers to do it.
Oh,
what makes
no,
these?
it's kind of funny. It's
You're
kind
not
of
far
funny,
behind
though,
him,
'cause,
Bicey. You're not far behind him.
Whilst Tim sent that in, about 7 other people sent the same thing
Oh,
to me
yeah,
as
yeah.
well.
Okay, so
But the other funny thing is as well, like, and I joke about it when I take the Series 1 into the CYC. And the Prez, he's parked, his car parks next to mine, and he brings the Bentley in. I'm not saying the Series 1's worth as much as the Bentley, but it's worth probably more than a lot of other cars in the car park.
oh, is that right?
no
It's
doubt.
ridiculous.
It's bizarre.
Yeah.
Another one we got sent was from Dave Harris, who sent us
Hasdog. Yep.
he sent a great video. You know, in Australia, we have these parks where if you're down on the boat ramp, there are parks where they're really big parks, like what Americans would need for their sort of cars.
Just a normal car.
Yeah. But it's designed where you have your boat, your car and your trailer attached. So it's a long park. And so there's specific parks for car trailers, right? And you don't park in them just with a car,
trailer.
right?
No, that's right.
Unless you're an idiot, right?
Yeah.
And he sent a video of somebody's clearly parked in a boat trailer park, and I think it was like a little Camry or something, and obviously a pissed off boat owner has just pulled up in their full drive.
Ram. Yeah.
Pull up in the
Dodge
full
Ram
drive.
or something.
We don't do
Yeah.
Dodge Rams in Australia.
Yeah.
No. Anyway, and put the hitch strap onto it and just skull drag this thing out of the park. And everyone's cheered. And then he just kept going. He just kept dragging the
car home.
It was gone. Like, it was hilarious. It didn't stop. So I could just see some grandma coming back from having made some cupcakes for her family at a picnic.
Yeah, exactly. She's down there volunteering for the day.
Yeah, she's made
Like
sandwiches.
just,
Sandwiches
yeah.
for the local fishing club.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Coast Guard just giving them some egg and cucumber sandwiches.
And Davo, the organizer, just said, "Park there. That's fine."
Yeah.
No one will park there.
It's good fun. The next nominee is Dustin Carlson. Now, this is
Carl Dog.
Carl Dog, yeah.
Dusty.
He-
Very vocal, and very big supporter.
He sent me a lot of messages the other day talking about to follow the Surf to City yacht race, to get involved in that. You know, he sent me a message how he wishes he was doing it.
Saw some great footage.
Yep. He sent me messages he wishes doing it. And I said, what are you, like there was a link attached that didn't reach me because it was in the middle of the water. And I said, no, what are you talking about? And he said, the Surf to City, mate. You should follow this race. Like, it's a good one. And I said, snapped a photo of the boat and I said, like, you mean this one that I'm...
What, the one I'm doing?
Racing
The one I'm
right
doing?
now. Oh.
Nice one.
Oh, dear. Anyway, dream run, hey, because, you know,
Did you win?
I don't know, they don't publish results for another week.
What?
Well, I was on an old mate of mine.
What?
You can't tell me there's
some
still,
SNS 34s doing it or something. Well, that need to be remeasured or something.
Yeah, no. I did it on a Beneteau first 40. An old mate of mine from uni. He's just got into sailing, and he said, "Would you mind coming
What's
out?"
his name? What's his name? You had some funny names.
Tim Pritchard, a great mate of mine.
Pritch Dog.
Yeah, the Pritch Dog. That's it.
What was some of the other mates? You had some other funny.
I don't have any other mates. Anyway, he said, "Would you mind coming out on the boat?" I said, "Sure, mate." And it was just glamour, like downwind, 25 knots, smoking, like lots of standing up swells. Beneteau
were you on the Marlboros?
No, one of the blokes was.
The Winnie Reds.
One of the blokes was.
Peter Stuyvesant.
I was just going to say...
Did you have your hat on?
Perfect running conditions, reaching running conditions, probably not the right boat. We're just not catching the waves that you need.
The beach ball.
Yeah, but still nice.
No.
Better
than upwind.
You know what it is, though? What it does lead into is that it's the 75th anniversary of the Brisbane to Gladstone, and that sort of southeast gradient, running downwind, good swell. At Easter, it's a great race. And if
are you on the commentary team this year?
Yeah, I'll be on the comms.
Got signed up with Weet-Bix?
You should come up and do it, boys.
Yeah,
do the comms.
Yeah. Might do the race, actually.
Do the race. That'd be more fun, because normally it's a really cracking race.
Yeah, I know. I've listened to you blokes before. Oh, Jesus. Fuck, get me some no-dos.
Oh, dear. Hey?
What time is it?
You can't get any ego in this.
What time is it?
Leave your ego in the bottom drawer.
What time is it?
What are you asking the time? Who knows?
What?
Easter. Yeah.
You've led in perfectly, BP.
I know, it's just terrible, isn't it?
Right.
You're meant to be running the show. You're meant to be running this show.
All right, come on, just one more.
One
more. Nominee.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Blaise Lazul. Blaise Lazul.
Yeah, Blaisey.
Blaisey.
Yeah. Santa Fado on the Insta, showing us next level barkarati. The old rules book where you used to get the little boats out.
Oh, the little boats with the booms.
Yeah.
Now,
that's next
given
level.
the name Blaise Lazul, that's a pretty good French name. I think, the French guy. But then the tables look like those tables they have at the San Francisco Yacht Club. So I think it might be an American listener. But he's done the next level barkarati where they've actually broken out the plastic boats as part of the conversation.
What they need, change the plastic boats into hands. Plastic hands.
A bit like the guy out of Happy.
Mate,
Happy Gilmore.
It was it was the Elvstrom rule book, right? That the plastic boat was in. So we could do it in the blue book, sponsored by Barkarati. You get two plastic hands.
The Barkarati rule book.
Like the number one gigantic hands, and have somebody doing Barkarati with
Oh, shit. I love it. I just love us. I think we're great. Hey?
I'm not sure anyone else does.
Who won?
Gives a fuck.
Who was
they've all turned off by now.
Barkarati rulebook with hands.
All right. All of you won listener of the week. Well done.
The Dutch guy.
All right.
All right. What time is it?
I got sore eyes.
What time?
It's hot time with Bice.
Bloody time.
I'm in charge, BP. Shut up.
Oh, shit, I've lost it.
Yeah.
Need a little breather.
Hasn't happened for a while.
Right,
we got a bit of a quiz tonight, gents.
All right.
I like to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Sure, yeah.
Get this. What does the contender nationals, the contender worlds, the actual nationals, the VX nationals, the transatlantic, the ocean race, both IMOCA VO65, Sail Melbourne 49ers, and Sail Melbourne IQ Foil have in common?
I
could answer this, but I think, Jay, why don't you do it?
They've all been won by guests on Barkarati, the reverse curse.
The reverse curse.
Yes.
Yeah.
The reverse curse has come in beautifully.
It has.
So, Mark Bolker, Just going through the list, Mark Bolker, the Contender Nationals and Worlds.
Congratulations, Box.
Episode 178 from memory. Etchell Nationals, JB, the great John Bertram, who just put out an absolute masterclass.
Absolutely.
VX Nationals, we had Goffey was on board, young Goffey. Transatlantic Teasing Machine.
Hang on. We've got a double here.
A double
here because you remember just before that we had Laurent Pages on, and they won the Middle Sea. So there's a double.
Oh yeah, yep. Here. Transatlantic Teasing Machine.
Mm-hmm.
Ocean Race.
Abby,
of course, and she's almost like the fifth leg.
Yeah,
of our team.
Well, she could be a perfect candidate to be one of the between the legs hosts.
Yes, correct. Her and Roz could be doing something.
She's definitely
there.
Very close member of the team. A lot of love for that lady.
Yep. Tom Burton, 49ers, right? Mm-hmm. And of course our Grazy, Grey Dog on the IQ4.
Yeah. So can we? I guess we can lock Sarah Kenny in for the win at the Windsurfers as well.
Yeah, basically she'll win that.
Yeah. So we can lock that one in. We'll make a T-shirt with all those names.
Wow. Actually,
so
we should. Just...
I mean, there has been a bit of speculation as to the reverse curse from a good mate of ours, one David Snow, saying, "Well, you've bloody interviewed so many fucking people." You got to win something.
He reckons our odds are pretty good. Well,
the odds are high.
Yeah. Well,
but during the week, as part of the banter, of course, BP, you thought, well, you might throw your hat in the ring as well with the Australian Masters Championships and the Edgels.
Oh, absolutely.
And as I told you, we're completely stuffed. We will never, ever win another regatta in our life.
I agree with you.
This is
the amount of energy. It's the energy we put into it, though.
Mate, this is the sacrifice we're going to make towards yachting and allowing other people to win.
Bit like selling containers to America's Cup teams.
Funny, I've had 4 inquiries this week. I've
got one.
So I'm madly trying to buy other containers now.
I've got 2 for you. Add another 2 to that.
Dear.
So we're 100% committed to making other people win.
Yep.
So we'll continue to host.
You want to win? Come on the show.
Yeah, get on the show. So I had some interesting people actually write in this week who are willing to come on the show. So we've got a full dance card.
Dance card is full. It's good.
Yeah.
We love it. I guess we should mention, obviously, with the Contender Worlds, it was nice and windy for quite a while there. And Mark Bolker, who did come on the show, having a pretty convincing win. I must admit, a lot of Aussies sailing at a Worlds in Western Australia, which is the most isolated city in the world. It's the capital city in the world that's furthest from any other. So, so it's hard to get boats down there. But Luca Bonezzi was the first international guest in position 5, I think. And my old mate Andre Webster and my old mate Lindsay Irwin on 3rd. There you go. So,
fantastic.
Yeah, good on him. Yep. What about the transatlantic? Anything interesting on that one for you guys?
Well, obviously, as we mentioned last week, was the record that was set by the Tri. That's pretty clear. And then I think the first monohull was done in 10 days and a bit.
Yeah.
But as for pretty cool sailing, though. For anything spectacular, nothing really. But just a great race to be part of.
Can I ask you guys?
Hopefully, we get a bit of feedback next week. How does that sound?
Can I ask you guys if you were maybe to do a race like that, and you can't have an X2 BP, what boat would you like to go on? Like, would you like to own? So, if it was your money that you're spending.
well, if it's someone else's money, it's a Gunboat 68 for sure.
Yeah.
But if it was my money, it's a J24.
With DSS.
I'm just interested. I just, it's a lot of fun, like.
Which reminds me, and I must apologise to the organisers, who there's a lot of good mates here there who organisers and part of it, but the Cape to Rio.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Which is basically been going on, and we have the first boat finished at time of recording.
Yep.
And we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll give a full wrap up next week. So I must apologise to the, especially the South African team, fully behind this, but it's coming. We'll let everyone know what the wrap up is by the end of by next week's app.
Sounds a plan.
Cool. Anything else you boys got? Anything else, Bossy?
No, that's all from my side.
You're lying. I know you're lying.
There's always more.
There is. It's one thing. I think we need to. Bossy, I was chatting to you during the week. It was an interesting discussion, and I think.
Am I allowed to say it?
No, I'm going to plug it for you. We
We
find your boat. Now, we're not taking any money here. We haven't taken money from this, but I really like the idea. Did he talk to you about it, BP, or did he just cut you out?
No, usual. I don't find out until the show.
Now, okay. For the listeners out there, just go check it out, wefindyourboat.com.
Yep.
It's basically just something put together using a whole lot of tech to find a boat that you like. Quite often or not, and I know, BP, you're in a bit of the brokerage space. When you walk into a brokerage, you literally see what is on the wall, and you get to choose what's on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas here, you can literally walk down the dock, take a photo of a boat that you like. You don't even have to know what the make, the model, the length, anything is. Upload it into the software. It will then scrape every brokerage website in the world and will show you what boat you want.
Love it.
And then
if you want to ring the Australian representative of We Find Your Boat, you know me, I'm in for a bit of a side hustle.
I thought we were doing this as goodness our heart.
No. There's a whole lot of tech involved here. You might think you're ringing me. No, AI.
You're ringing Siri. Siri, find my boat. Damn it, where'd I leave it?
So you could ring the number and say, "Hey, Bossy, find my boat." What do you want? I'll find it for you. No, it's some serious tech some guys in New Zealand have come up with.
Wow.
Which has an offering for boat owners, got an offering for brokers, got an offering for potential boat owners. So it's definitely something to be checking out. Have a bit of a look. Wefindyourboat.com.
Beautiful. I thought we were just doing that out of goodness of heart. Didn't realise you were going to get some money out of it. But
you've always got to get some money out.
I'll get fuck away with this. Don't worry about that. Like I said,
from my perspective,
it's how we roll.
Do you think Siri makes much money?
Yeah.
Okay. From my perspective, I just thought it was a bloody clever idea.
So what you're saying is they've just used your voice, have they?
Yeah. Stand by. Give the 1-800 number a call.
And stand by.
And for any
what do you want? What are you looking for?
Any people writing recording voices for navigation instruments, those car maps. We're offering our voices. We think that's our pathway because
it's the future, you reckon?
I just think they do it wrong. At the roundabout, take the second exit. Like it could be more like, okay, I got a roundabout here, mate.
Straight through, mate.
No.
Oh, he left you when you go. Oh, no, Jesus Christ. Who are you?
We're offering that sort of quality service for anybody wanting to build a car navigation system. We'll do the audio and you'll sell it by the truckload, but everyone will get lost.
Can we go now?
Yeah, we can go. All right. Good fun.
Break out the guitar.
Break out the guitar. Right. You got it lined up, BP? Where are you going to break in?
Yeah, about the third chorus.
Okay. All right. On the slow part.
Yeah, the slow part, yeah.
Thanks for listening, everyone. It's great fun hanging out. Keep sending all that stuff.
Remember, give us 5 stars. Go to the podcast site.
Give us 10 stars. Do it twice.